Hello everyone, Resonance here, and today I'll be giving you all my commentary on Game 5 out of 5 games played between the two teams TyRanT Legends and NC and Friends Arma. In case you didn't know, these matches are part of the group stages of the War is Coming tournament that is currently being hosted on Voobly, and you can find more information on it as well as links to download the replays on Aoe2 Zone in the video description below. I will also have links to watch the rest of the matches with my commentary in the video description as well. In a moment, I'm going to go turn back on the overlay, which will spoil the results of the previous games, so make sure you watch those first. And of course, your feedback is appreciated, so feel free to leave me a comment and tell me if this is the type of thing that you'd like me to do more of. In the future, I will try to find a closer series of games, and I'll try to montage those out a bit quicker than this one if I can. Alright, now before we jump into Game 5, which will be played on the map Green Arabia, I am going to take a brief moment to explain how Game 5 is going to work and then give you all a brief overview of the game type that we'll be watching today. The group stages games, of which this is part of, are played for a total of 5 points. Games 1 through 4 are each worth 1 point, but for the 5th point, both teams will have to play a best of 3 series on Deathmatch. If the games are short enough, I'll lump them all into this video, but if they drag on, I'll probably have to split Game 5 into 2 parts. As you are probably aware, in the game mode Deathmatch, each player starts with a very large amount of each resource, and everybody begins in the Imperial Age with every available technology researched for their civilization. Unlike the other games in the series, the following matches will be played in a 2v2 on fast speed, and when it comes to Deathmatch, the resources that you start with are usually not enough, so both teams will have to create an army and build an economy at an incredible speed if they want to survive. Now I am going to leave the game paused for just a little bit longer since Deathmatch is so volatile that I don't want to miss out on any of the action. Now onto the players themselves. From the renowned team TyRanT Legends, we have Jordan23 playing as the Blue Persians at the right side of the map. Just a little bit below him we have the Viper playing as the Yellow Japanese. And on the opposing team, NC and Friends Arma, we have Shine playing as the Teal Persians on the left side of the map. And a little south of him, we have Nilpfert playing as the Red Japanese. Now, Deathmatch is a peculiar game mode in that it can be over in as little as a few minutes, or the games can develop into such an intense late-game macro war. Smart unit choice and efficient build orders are going to be critical here, as one small mistake can easily be punished with such a large stockpile of resources. To elaborate a bit on how each match of Deathmatch can be over so quickly, let's take a look at what units each player starts with. Remember how everyone has all of their civilization's technologies researched? This means that their fully upgraded scout unit can wreak some havoc on the enemy team if they don't build enough military buildings soon. If a player sends their scout offensively immediately and the target player decided to be greedy and build a bunch of town centers or some other non-military buildings, they could very easily lose all of their villagers and lose the game right at that very moment. Still though, these players are all smart enough that I don't think we'll see that type of basic mistake here. Instead, my eyes will mostly be on what type of units these players create and how the minute differences in playstyles between the two teams determines the outcome of the game. Both teams are mirroring each other's civilizations, of course, so it's going to come down to great teamwork and efficient play. Like I mentioned just a moment ago, it looks like everybody is, of course, sending their scout into the opposing base to go cause some mayhem, as look at the stats on this monstrosity. If these players were not building military buildings immediately, then they would be toast. That is exactly why Jordan did build that barracks incredibly early and that he was able to take care of that scout. Same here from Shine, building a stable, that way he can get out a heavy camel to go deal with that nonsense, as every player here not going to lose immediately to that light cavalry hussar harass, but it can be incredibly dangerous on Deathmatch if you're not prepared. Looks like the players are going to be mirrored in their matchups as well, as we got the 2 Japanese players on the bottom of the map and the 2 Persians at the top. I think an interesting thing right off the bat is that we can see that NC's strategy is to try and gang up a little bit on the Viper in the early game, as the camels from Shine are going to come down here. Another reason that he's going for camels is that going for early paladins as the Persians is certainly viable, and well, we can see, Jordan is doing literally just that. So by predicting what your opponent is going to do and building the counter units in advance, you can already snowball a lead. Looks like the Viper is going to defend this well right off the bat, so he is going to be okay. Everybody here is building basically nothing but military buildings right at the start, and now they're going to start working on their town centers because, again, you don't want to get blitzkrieg down in the very beginning if you're not prepared. This is a great castle position for the Viper because he does get to exploit the hill bonus in Age of Empires 2, where if your building or unit is on a higher elevation than the thing that's attacking it, then your building takes less damage and your building does more damage. It's always very, very helpful. we have a pretty big battle going on over here right now with the very standard champions and Arbalest combination from the two Japanese players, and then we have a bunch of cavalry raiding going on over here between the two Persian players. Now this is a very, very good army comp in that they typically do cover their weaknesses quite effectively. Like if you are okay, like when it comes down to Age of Empires 2, unit counters are really, really incredibly important, and the players that adapt quicker to the units that your opponent is making really do tend to come out on top. When we look at champions, they're very, very weak to, you know, hand cannoneers, so Arbalest is extremely good against hand cannoneers, and it's great to see these players here building armies in which their units cover the weaknesses of each other. That's what I like to call a well-balanced army, and that is absolutely critical to success. A couple of these camels gonna get picked off here as none of the raiding has really managed to do anything for the two Persian players. The line slowly moving forward. Heavy Scorpions being added in here from Nilpferd, and this is really good. Heavy Scorpions are a unit that we don't usually see in Aoe2 very much outside of Deathmatch, but in Deathmatch they are great. I mean, look at the champions and the Arbalest. Very, very low Pierce armor here, so Heavy Scorpions just a natural choice. Scorpions are also much better, really only... Wow, that's a great Heavy Scorpion shot here. You're going to do a lot of damage. Heavy Scorpions are really only good if you can mass them up, and, you know, only in Deathmatch can you possibly have enough resources to get out a ton of Scorpions. Pretty standard here to see War Elephants coming out from both of the Persian players, as War Elephants are absolutely disgusting. If you happen to have the money for them, they take, like, no damage whatsoever, but, you know, even though War Elephants have a pretty good Pierce armor of 3, they still take a lot of, you know, damage over time from the Scorpions, so... we're going to get a lot of value from the Scorpions here, so I really love the decision on both sides to make those. Scorpions definitely excel against, like, huge clumps of units, and as well as, you know, units with really low Pierce armor like these guys right here. The War Elephant's going to soak up some damage, and it looks like this castle did not end up going up from the Viper as the battle rages on. Trebuchets here going to be critical, as both players are going to be, both teams are going to be trying to, you know, inch the line just a little bit forward and go for that sort of slow push style strategy that I personally love doing. You need trebuchets right here to break the stall and, you know, focus down these castles from a safe distance. Now, what's nice here is that TyRanT is the aggressor in this situation, and that they are actually hitting the opposing castles, whereas NC is not actually in a position to siege the Viper's castles. And, you know, usually when you're playing Deathmatch, you want to be the aggressor here. You never really want to be defending, because when you are defending, you're, you know, ceding map control to your opponent. A really, really great Onager shot here from Nilpferd, going to take it and just flatten all those Scorpions. But yeah, you usually want to be the aggressor, force your opponent to repair the castle, as, you know, Nilpferd here does have a bunch of these repairers, and he's going to have to blow a lot of stone repairing that. And like I mentioned at the start, well, everybody is already running out of resources. Nilpferd looking pretty poor, and looks like you know, TyRanT has just a little bit of an early game lead, and this is what I was talking about with map control here. An insanely greedy wall off from Jordan, but I really like this. You want to try and hold and claim as much of the map as possible while these guys are all distracted over here. And again, you know, unless Nilpferd gets to start really doing some damage to the Viper's base, this definitely favors TyRanT, as they are able to poke down these castles. Really good decision on his part, though, to you know, move the line back here a bit and start pressuring the Viper, which, like I said, is exactly what he has to do right here. You want to be the aggressor, you want to be threatening your opponent, force them to respond, and just outmaneuver them. So the fact that Nilpferd has decided to basically abandon this front and just move it down a little bit, he has taken out most of the Viper's base. So a huge play on his part, made a massive difference. But Shine is quite a bit behind Jordan in score right now, as Jordan's Elephants just, you know, really cleaning this up. Every player here has put down a absolute ridiculous amount of town centers in the meantime, and they're just going to try and boom like crazy as fast as humanly possible. If we go check out the population, we can see that these players here booming at breakneck speeds. But look at the civilian population for the Viper. He is at 10. That's not good, as Nilpferd here just on top of things. Bringing his A game today. Nicely done, nicely done. He's throwing in some samurai like a little jerk over here just to, you know, really screw up the Viper. This town center can't do anything, and Jordan's going to have to send in a War Elephant to deal with these. But, you know, the samurai are actually going to clean up this elephant, as it's just too low on HP, and it's a unique unit, so samurai are very effective against this. And all of a sudden, actually, NC looking really good. You know, it seemed for a little bit that TyRanT was ahead, and that they still have, like, a very substantial, like, military lead on this front, and that the Viper was able to, you know, take out those castles and really drain Nilpferd's economy. But, you know, since Nilpferd just decided to say fuck it and just move the front down a little bit, I mean, he's killed, like, half the Viper's economy, and putting these samurai back here. Look, the Viper has to pull back all these troops just to be able to build up some economy. I mean, in the post-Imperial Age, these military units are so strong that you have to pull some guys back, and perhaps this is the momentum that NC needs. NC hasn't actually won a game in the series yet versus TyRanT Legends, which, TyRanT Legends is basically one of the best teams that Aoe2 has to offer with some incredibly talented players, so not completely surprising, but, NC, yet again, as they have always done, is they've really just been looking strong in the early game, and this might actually be a game they could, in theory, close out. Because the Viper has, well, no economy of any description, so this army from him is going to be purely temporary. Once this army dies, it's going to be very hard for the Viper to replace that, as if we look, he's on only 130 population. I mean, that's not so great. And Jordan also incredibly far behind on population as well, as it looks like TyRanT has just neglected to build up a super strong economy. Both members of NC are actually almost completely boomed. They're basically at the pop cap of 200, and, well, yeah, they got a 70 pop lead on both sides, so... yeah, even though, TyRanT had a very, very slight early game advantage by just being able to be the aggressor here, poke down Niltfert's castles, well, they managed to just completely turn it around, and it looks like, once again, guys, Farming Simulator wins games. As the NC, just put down just a ridiculous amount of town centers, they got a huge economy, and they should just be able to outproduce TyRanT here. There's just a huge population discrepancy at this point. I'm not quite sure if TyRanT will be able to come back from this one. Another contributing factor to the comeback is that Niltfert also decided to make a couple onagers in response to the Viper's mass Arbalists and mass Scorpions, which was also a very, very good decision on his part, as the onagers with a well-placed shot can flatten all those Scorpions, and in a game like Deathmatch, or just in Aoe2 in general, but it's more prevalent in Deathmatch, it's all about value. You want to make sure that you are trading, your units efficiently with your opponents. So by making one onager, and if you trade one onager and you kill like 5 Scorpions, that's great. Your opponent just lost more resources, and that exchange cost you a lot less. And that type of thing will really snowball you, as it can be really tricky for players to try and manage building a massive military and an economy with all these resources. There comes a point in every deathmatch game where basically your economy isn't quite strong enough to sustain unit production, and you're running out of cash, so you can't just keep spamming military units. So by making sure that you spend your early game resources incredibly efficiently, you are setting yourself up for a pretty great game. Gold running a little bit low for both sides, as we're going to start seeing a little bit of halberdier action in there, which is just fine too, because there are some elephants. And well, map control still a little bit in favor of TyRanT due to this extremely greedy wall-off from Jordan, as he wants to get the trade line of the century over here. I mean, he kind of had to, right? If you look at the way, NC has done basically the exact same thing over here, and I do like that they have all these, that they have these castles over here as well, to make it a lot harder to go raid these markets. I like that. Because that way, when your markets get attacked by a large group of paladins, you don't actually have to pull back guys to go defend that. Rather, your castle will be able to deal with the paladins unless there are a ton of them. The Viper here also going to make his own onagers, and, well, we'll see if he can get a couple good shots off, as these guys are all very, very clumped up. Monks as well, a great response to the elite war elephants, as both sides here are going to run out of steam. Looks like Shine has decided to go focus down the trade line, and this here is exactly what they need to do to win. Great castle placement, though, right in the top of this hill. They got quite a strong choke point here, though, for Jordan. Shine will probably not be able to get through here. And this top area of the map will be a point of contention for both sides, as, when one side loses trade in the late game, and, well, deathmatch, you immediately start in the late game, it's basically over. A lot of villagers here going to go down for Shine, as he, wishful thinking over here. Would really like that gold mine, but it's not going to happen. It's way too close to Jordan's base. So, things really slipping away from TyRanT's grasp, but they are making a bit of a comeback. The populations are evening out a little bit, and now the Viper is ahead of Shine. So, while it looked like TyRanT was literally dead for a minute there, as the Viper was down by a ridiculous amount of population, they're making a comeback. We're seeing some pretty heavy booms from both sides with a ridiculous amount of town centers, although all of the Vipers are literally on fire. Thankfully, though, the buildings don't actually burn down over time, so it's quite nice. Monks are as well a really great thing for value, like I was talking about. Why? Because if you make a monk and you convert a war elephant, well, you didn't pay anything. Like, you paid 100 gold, and then you get a war elephant. That's fantastic, because war elephants, remember, they cost an arm and a leg, $6 billion in your firstborn child. So, if you can convert them, that's great. What if you can get 2 elephants for the price of 1 monk? That's fantastic. not only that, monks heal your other units as well, allowing them to trade 2 for 1 with other units too. So monks, the king of value, and it's going to make a huge difference in these exchanges. Got some trebuchet fights here, as trebuchet is a very good response to the opposing trebuchets, but too little too late, as the shoe is on the other foot now, and NC is going to push in. Now they're the aggressors. You never want to have to use trebuchets defensively. I mean, if you gotta, you gotta, but it's much better to be the one who is sieging your opponent's castle. Much better. Another great decision here from NC is they are, putting down some siege workshops over here. Shine gonna send some guys in and take out all the Viper's houses, which is gonna be pretty obnoxious. I wonder if he ended up getting housed. Doesn't look quite like he's gonna get housed because he actually doesn't have too much in the realm of population right now. Both sides here kind of running out of steam, but now Shine building back up, and well, this game actually looking really remarkably close. Still slightly favoring NC, as they're the ones being the aggressor, and you always want to be the aggressor in these type of situations. By forcing your opponent to adapt, it typically gives you a big edge. You get to dictate the pace of the game, and especially when it comes to trebuchets, it really does favor the aggressor, as you don't want to be repairing your castle, blowing all that stone. You want to put the pressure on, force your opponent to respond. Well, that is a lot of castles here from Jordan, as he really wants to protect his trade line and his own base. He will be able to hold the line over here, and yeah, looks like NC going to slowly inch the line forward with the castle here, which was actually, I believe, exactly where the Vipers was at one point in this game, but it never quite went up. And yeah, it's got a huge chunk of trebuchets and arbals just asking to be hit with a nice old monitor shot, but really, map control just disappearing for TyRanT at an alarming rate. They need to make something happen. They need an ace in the hole. And perhaps the only way they could feasibly win at this point is by raiding. Maybe Jordan could take some guys, send them down over here into Shine's base. But as you can see, the man has about approximately several thousand castles, so he will probably be able to hold that. But yeah, they need to do something to weaken the enemy's economy. I mean, raiding is the great equalizer, guys. Of course, it is the best way to turn around a game when you're behind, is to just take some cavalry units and cripple your opponent's economy, assuming that your own economy is crippled as well. You don't want to send too many guys, though, otherwise you just tend to not have enough army to defend your own base. But yeah, things looking quite tricky for TyRanT. Their population dropping, the Viper not really, he really just hasn't been given too much breathing room. Like, they've been raiding him like non-stop, so NC here doing a tremendous job at actually, yeah, they're making TyRanT Legends, look a little weak here, actually, as, well, really just some impressive play. I am pleasantly surprised, because while NC has been showing promising signs of life throughout the series and has been making some tremendous plays, really, it never really felt like TyRanT was out of, that they'd lost control of the game for maybe more than a few minutes. Like, sure, TyRanT, would occasionally slip a little bit in the early game, and NC would look incredibly strong, but then they'd always pull it back. But, it's because TyRanT was always the ones dictating the pace of the game. But here, NC is the aggressor. NC is the one in charge, forcing the Viper to respond, forcing Jordan to respond, pushing them into a corner, and really, I'm just impressed. It looks like Game 5 is gonna be the part of the series that we were all looking for. I mean, when I picked the series originally, I just picked the most recent game that was being played. In Word is coming, so I just literally picked the most recent game, and this is the one that popped up. And while the games have been pretty good, this match is spectacular. Like, this is great. We might actually see actually 3 games in Game 5. I don't think that TyRanT could possibly come back from this. They've lost so much ground. Map control slipping at an alarming rate. Oh my God, this is not the situation that they want to be in. They need to make something happen. That's the thing. You have to be the aggressor here. They need to. I mean, they just don't have the economy, though. They really don't. I mean, Jordan just doesn't have the cash. Like, they have to do something. They have to take, like, a group of, like, cavalry units, go in, take out the trade line, get into someone's eco. Like, I'm trying to think of a great place to pressure here. And really, like, NC's got this covered, though, with a great castle placement. Like, I guess ideally you want to... you can maybe treb this area down, get some siege rams, which is exactly what Jordan wants to do right now, but he just kind of can't, because, again, he's got to repair all these castles. There's no way. You can't get these trebuchets if you're behind. You can't. Like, he's going to need... Actually, bombard cannons would be pretty good here. I might actually like to see some bombard cannons. It'd be a great way to take out these trebuchets from a distance, whereas the war elephants might not be able to reliably get up to these. And really here, the early game, I think this game just kind of boiled down to more like a heavier macro focus from NC. Like, they went like way heavier on town centers before TyRanT did. So when TyRanT started running out of steam money-wise, NC, you know, they had like a little bit of, they had a weaker earlier offense because they put more of their villagers on town centers, trying to build up their economy. But when TyRanT started running out of steam from the ridiculous amount of resources they had stockpiled at the start, well, then that's when NC starts pulling ahead with their new actual economy, giving them new resources. It looks like TyRanT is going to call it game, so wow. I simply do not believe. What a good game. My goodness. NC here looking strong. We're going to go to game 2, and lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, NC just won a game. They just took a game off a team that has never lost a tournament in Aoe2 history. They have never lost a tournament. So, well played, NC. TyRanT here, they were looking really strong in the early game, but the heavier macro focus definitely won them that. And I think the game-winning move, so we see the differences in play styles, a little heavier on the macro from NC. And in terms of military strategy, well, I think the game-winning decision here goes to TyRanT as he realized that this front, you know, during this front, like he was the one being pressured, as this one favors the Viper. I mean, you look at this hill right here. This favors the Viper. All of his guys were, you know, like stationed on this hill, and he was able to, you know, siege this castle down very, very safely. TyRanT realized this was just not a favorable engage. Not only that, I gotta say, guys, I love military attacks in AoE2. It's really in-depth. It's more in-depth than you think, because look, Jordan here can very easily reinforce this area, as it's just a straight path for Jordan. He just walks straight down here. Very, very easy to reinforce this area when the Viper is on this hill. However, when TyRanT realized that, you know, TyRanT would not be able to push down here extremely fast. Yes, they did have momentum. They were able to get there. He realized that if he just cuts south, suddenly he has this hill here. Suddenly he has the elevation advantage, and he can start poking down these town centers. He can get rid of all the military production of the Viper. The nice thing with TyRanT here is that he had these castles at the front, but his military production was further back from the battlefield, a lot further back from the battlefield. Whereas the Vipers was actually in range of the trebuchets. By sweeping down this direction, it was a lot harder for Jordan to reinforce that. He would have to walk a further distance, and then suddenly, well, the Viper is going to lose all of his military production facilities as they're all exposed. The castles were over here, if you recall, not down here. And, well, that was the game-winning decision, as TyRanT managed to just, you know, cripple the Viper's economy, take out a town center. Also sending a couple samurai over here to just go slow down the Viper's economy. Like, he managed to keep an entire, like, 2 town centers, like, idle over here, stop a bunch of them from going up as well. Shine sending in a bunch of war elephants as well, just to be a massive, massive nuisance. And here we can see NC controlling the pace of the game, being the aggressor, and I also like to see a ton of monks here from TyRanT, so that makes a huge, huge difference on their side. Is do get to keep your own elephants alive, get to steal a bunch of elephants from the opposing side. I gotta say, this is a great game. Like both teams, like they seem really, really even in this. They seem really, really even. I expect to see in game 2 that TyRanT will not play the match the same way that they did this one. I think that they've seen that NC has a lot of potential, and that if you let NC, you know, play a little slower in the early game and boom up a little bit, like if you give, I've said this before about TyRanT, but I guess the same is true about NC. Give them an inch, they take a mile. I don't think TyRanT will make the same, make the same sort of play style in the next game. So yeah, GG, well played. GG, well played. Wow. I'm impressed, guys. I can't wait to see the second match. All right, let's check out the achievements. Wow. Well played. I'm surprised. I'm surprised. I mean, like, the pop difference between the two sides was pretty astronomical. Ah, yes, the units lost from the Viper here. We can see, literally the devil. But yeah, buildings lost tells the entire story here. Really, you know, we know who's in control there. You want to be the guys who are doing the attacking when it comes to deathmatch. So wow. Oh, there also seemed to be a heavy amount of slinging going on in the game due to the tribute set that we can see here. Pretty heavy trade as well from Shine. Wow, yeah. I mean, look at you can see from the villager count that the Viper really didn't get too much in the realm of villagers, whereas TyRanT was like just plopping down town centers like crazy. So you can see the discrepancy right here in the timeline, and it really does make a huge difference. Look at this villager focus. Like, that is a crazy boom. There was a huge military lead for TyRanT for a little bit, But the eco aspect of the game did bite them in the butt eventually. So yeah, wow, what a game, what a game. You know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to jump straight into Game 2, and then we'll have, I guess, Game 3 as the final one. So yeah, this video not over. This video not over indeed. Wow. All right, 1 victory for NC in a best of 3. All right, I'm going to briefly flip this off so you guys don't see how many games are in this series. Boom. Oh, is this really where the replay starts? What? This is the next one. Is this really where it starts? All right, we were starting 13 minutes in. Okay, fuck it. All right, we're 13 minutes in. Gosh, where do I start? I need to pause this game. What? Why does Game 2 start at this point? I have no idea. This is like about as weird as the Viper just randomly disappearing in that one game. Okay, what the Alright, where to begin? Okay, so it looks like we have Jordan23 playing as the blue Japanese and the Viper playing as the yellow Spanish. Okay, so it's going to be Japanese and Spanish this time. Shine going to be playing as the teal Spanish in the bottom left, and NeilFerret playing as the red Japanese. So Japanese v Japanese at the top, and then Spanish versus Spanish at the bottom. I'm mystified as why we're starting in the middle here, but I'm gonna try my best to explain what must have happened in the meantime. Well, when I look at the population, I can already tell that NC is actually winning. That's crazy! Wow, NC looking so strong here. Well played, well played. I was reading a bunch of comments like, man, you know, these two teams are just not on the same level. I'm telling you guys, NC is full of a lot of really, really talented players here, and they're showing their worth. They're showing their worth, you know. These guys, no slackers whatsoever. Wow. Okay, so when I look at this, the civilian population yet again in favor of Shine. Wow, that's a huge military for NeilFerret as well. So it looks like NeilFerret went for a little more of the Viper approach, we'll call it, in this game, where he went like really, really heavy into early military. Presumably, from what I can tell last game, perhaps their strategy is to have Shine sling NeilFerret. Maybe if I check the achievements for this one, maybe that's what they're doing. Oh gosh. Let me resize that. If I go to... okay. Not really very much tribute sent here, but it looks like Jordan is going to be sending the Viper more resources. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Okay. So yeah, Shine has a much bigger economy than everybody, well, except than NeilFerret does in this game, but... yeah, it looks like somehow they managed to get a little bit of an early game lead here, as I'm assuming that's a dead castle. I'm assuming that's a dead castle for NeilFerret. Either way, he's got a huge army, whereas he has, well, the Viper has almost nothing. Like 54, 130. That's not good when it comes to the mirror match right here, as Shine gonna get into the trade line. That's no good at all. These trade cards going down, and like I mentioned in these late game macro wars, that's basically, that spells. That's the end of the game, man. That's kaput. You're done. I mean, look at the gold count for Jordan. That's not what you want to see. You know, we're talking like 100 or less than 100 gold right here. You know, once you get to the beyond 10-minute mark, the resources that you start with are dwindling. You need to get that trade profit rolling. They're not going to be able to get that. Whereas NC has this area walled off and secure, but not for long, as the Viper are going to be moving in here as well. They're going to try and be the aggressors this game, and even though they're at a massive population difference right here, a huge discrepancy, the fact that TyRanT is actually still making some sort of aggressive calls, they're still doing something, forcing NC to react, killing a ton of trade cards here, so well done on the Viper's part here, looking very strong. Is going to take out a lot of their economy. Since they are still making plays, still you know, being on the offensive, they have a chance. But they really have to rectify the military difference, as NeilFerret's army is looking pretty spooky. But Jordan here is going to make the right call with the unit choices, going to make a bunch of onagers, which are also the great equalizer. We're talking a little bit about how raiding is a great way to get yourself back in a game that you're behind by weakening your opponent's economy, reducing it to your crippled level. And of course, onagers are a great thing as well when it comes to value trading, you know, one unit for two or several. Scorpion's great as well, so yeah, these onagers should be able to hold the line over here, and, you know, presumably, you know, TyRanT actually has the stronger economy this time, so, again, they're mixing it up a bit. This is good. Learning from the mistakes last game, they realized that the heavier macro style from NC really did push them a little bit ahead. and they're going to be trying to do the same thing here. That's a ton of battering rams, and this is great. This is great. Because all these battering rams are coming in here from the Viper, this means that his elite conquistadors get free shots on the paladins that have to focus down the siege rams. Otherwise, the siege rams are going to get in here, take out a castle, take out a town center, take out some markets. However, Shine will end up cleaning this up, and the trade line still heavily in favor of NC. That's going to add up over time. That really, really is. So we're going to have to keep our eyes peeled on that. As that could decide the game if the game goes on. You know, there's still gold deposits across the map as Jordan, you know, going to be heavily mining this, but, you know, not for long. Nilpferd here with something really cheeky. I love this. Random forward barracks going to start pumping out some infantry to just destroy the Viper's farmers just like last time. Well, except he has, you know, literally no money whatsoever, but I'm sure he'll, you know, start pumping those out in a little bit. Jordan here with a castle in response to try and protect this gold mine, so that's really, really good. Again, you want to use your castles, especially when you have this much stone, as a means of protecting your economy from enemy raids. That way you don't have to pull back units. If you do not have castles, if you have all of your castles offensively, this is why I love defensive castles. If you have all of your castles offensively, and your economy is getting raided by a group of paladins or something like that, and you're winning, suddenly you have to pull back your army, which remember you're winning with, to defend your economy. And then suddenly, you're not on the offensive anymore. You just removed your military advantage, and you just lost a ton of units, because by the time your units get there, you lost a huge advantage, sorry. By the time your units get there, your villagers will already be dead, and that's not the ideal situation. So, by having some castles there, you don't need to pull back your own units to defend this, and, you know, the castle here getting a lot of work done, as he does basically deny any sort of cheeky infantry raiding. Both players here are going to share the love, share this stone mine, as I feel like that little bonding exercise will be purely temporary. Ooh, the Viper here gonna get in this trade line again. He's not going to give up on this one. Now, it looks like he is actually going to be able to do a lot of damage, as he's going to take down this hill. And again, when it comes to trebuchets, you always want to be the one attacking with them. Going to be able to take down those castles. Wow, yeah. The Viper will be able to push in here, and even though the trade line got kind of crippled by NC in the early game for TyRanT, well, TyRanT pulling ahead here, and I think the secret is actually in the slightly larger economy that they had. Although, you know, NC still managing to build back up just a teeny bit. But what this boils down to is, I guess, like, you know, Nilpferd had a very, very small economy for a little bit, and that meant that he fell behind, so it's the same thing. We see the momentum shift here as Jordan gets to come in with his bigger economy and just outproduce Nilpferd in the meantime. And really, the problem is here with trebuchets. There's no way Nilpferd can really take these out, assuming that there's samurai camping the spawn of these onagers. Like, there's really no way. And I love this decision on Jordan's part to go bring some forward villagers to go repair these trebuchets. Such a dick move, as this trebuchet is not going to go down. He gets to slowly move the line forward, and it really sucks when the enemy is just in your base, camping the spawn of all of your units. Look at the population just shifting. Nilpferd completely falling apart. NC on the back foot. So we might go to game 3. It's not going to be a 2-0 for either side, and that's exactly how I would have wanted this series to end. This is perfect. Exactly how I wanted to see this series end. In a best of 3, 1-1, NC gonna call it game. They're going to call it game. We're going to see how game 3 goes. What this boiled down to here, I think, is... I mean, it's kind of tough to say because we missed the first 12 minutes for some reason. I have no idea why that replay started halfway through. This is the second replay, I swear, out of all of them. It's a tricky one for sure. But I think, though, that the aggressor is the one that is rewarded in this situation, and since it seems like TyRanT went for a more eco-focused early game. So again, they were behind, but this is like the reverse of game 1. Nilpferd lost his huge army, and remember, he had like 50 villagers when like TyRanT had like 100. He lost his huge, massive army to a bunch of very, very efficient units like the onagers, which can just trade, 2 for 1, 3 for 1, or more. He lost that army, and he wasn't able to replace it in time, and then Jordan here just swoops in, and he camps the spawn of Nilpferd's guys. Nilpferd, there's no way he could possibly respond to these trebuchets without massing up enough guys, but he can't, because all of his infrastructure is right here. All the samurai are just going to kill the units as they spawn. He needed to mass them up. There wasn't enough map control for them. While this was kind of a stalemate between Shine and the Viper on this side, it definitely, the Viper was able to hold on to that one in the end, so... Yeah, I guess presumably it seems like maybe NC just lost too many units trying to get into this trade line early. I'm not quite sure exactly how the game ended up this way, but you know, interesting to see that now we're 1-1. I can't wait to see how Game 3 turns out. Ooh, ooh, ooh. My, both teams looking great. Deathmatch is very, very exciting, but boy, is it so fast. It's so fast. It's amazing, you know, you miss 12 minutes of a normal game, and it doesn't matter that much, as the differences in build orders at the start are rather minute. It just gives me time to talk about other things, whereas, you know, miss 12 minutes of Deathmatch, and it's, Jesus, it's like missing like 50 years of your life. They have no idea what happened in the early game. Perhaps the base layouts here are also just a smidgen better. I mean, if we look at this, the trade line all the way over here is further away from Jordan's base, so I guess that means if anything gets in here, it doesn't really get into Jordan's eco. Tough to say. I mean, this hill over here is really, really nice and a really great way for them to defend, but I guess if you lose this hill, you're basically screwed, because this hill's like right in front of Neilfert's base, and that really just gave him a strong foothold there. Unit choice probably play. You know, I'm gonna say this before we go into the achievements. Unit choice probably was a huge thing here, at least on the top half of the map. When I look at this, the mass onagers, very, very efficient. There were really heavy arbalists from Neilfert, so the onagers here will just be able to trade extremely efficiently with those. So even though they were behind in the early game, they got to trade their units much better and come out on top there. Also, yeah, I saw a great play from the Viper here as he brought in like a ridiculous amount of siege rams with his conquistors. The Paladins had to focus down the siege rams. They had to, so that means the conquistors get to get a ton of free shots on the Paladins before the Paladins can engage the siege rams. In that sense, the siege rams don't even need to do anything, but the fact that they're there means that the conquistors become a massive threat. Shine can't kill both of those at once. Also, the conquistors very hard to surround as they can just clump up, you know, on the terrain and really exploit the hill. So, yeah, they basically need like an honor to deal with that. So, yeah, well played from TyRanT's part as they managed to come back from, I have no idea how big of a deficit, but it looks like they managed to make it work anyway. So, yeah. GG, well played. No idea why that replay started in the middle, but hopefully Game 3 starts at 0 seconds. That would be pretty nice. We're gonna have part 2. Here's what's gonna happen, guys. We're gonna have part 2, which is Game 3. We're gonna find out who wins this series, the best of 3 series for Game 5. We already know that TyRanT won the group stages here, basically, right? You know, they're gonna come out of this with 4 points, you know, no matter what. The question is does NC come out with 1 point? That we can't really know. What's gonna happen is we're gonna do Game 3. It's gonna turn out to start, you know, 15 minutes in or something like that, and it's gonna be like a 5-minute video. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. I'm excited for Game 3. I love watching Deathmatch. It's really interesting. It's a lot more different than, you know, regular random map Aoe2. It really just goes to show, like, in Deathmatch, your tiny mistakes get punished extremely heavily, and you can lose from minute 1 if you're not quite sure what you're doing, and, you know, smart unit choice and good teamwork is what wins these games. Also, yeah, Jordan was able to repair his trebuchets as well, which really does make them, you know, they're like, the villagers that are repairing the trebuchets are like monks, you know? They allow your units to live longer and trade more effectively. That's why you'll see top-level players often repairing their mangonels to try and get even more value out of them. So yeah, GG, well played. I hope you guys all enjoyed watching this video. If you did, don't forget to check out the rest of this stuff on my YouTube page, as I have plenty of other Age of Empires 2 videos there, as well as videos for other games. So if you like this one, you'll probably like those as well. As always, guys, thank you so much for the support. I really do appreciate it. The series took me quite a while to pump out, mostly because these videos take forever to do. I try to do a really good job, and, you know, these matches are very chaotic. Casting a 1v1 live is a lot easier because there's a lot less going on, but when we have like a 4v4 going on, there's just so much. I don't want to miss out on anything. I always want to deliver you guys the best quality content that I can do, so that when you see one of my videos in the in your little you know, subscription inbox, you're like, oh, you know, this is going to be good. So I put a lot of effort into these, which is why the series took a really long time to cast. Of course, you know, I know that these games aren't very new at this point, but when I started the series, it was literally the day of, so gonna roll with it. In the future, I would like to pump these out a little bit faster if I can, but, you know, 4v4, guys, it's tough, it's tough. I don't want to miss out on anything. Alright, so, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all in part 2 of Game 5. I'm excited, guys. Tell me in the video comments who you think is going to take this it's tough to say. Will NC end up getting 1 point from the group stages off of TyRanT Legends, or will it be 5-0? That is the question. Alright guys, I'll see you all in part 2, which a link will be in the video description to that, or you can just search for it on my YouTube channel. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. See you all next time. GG, well played!